the extraordinary attack on federal employees being undertaken by the Trump-Musk administration here in the United States, because it, too, reveals much about what's going on in the world. Basically, as I assume you all know, Trump and Musk are busy firing large numbers, many thousands, of federal employees of the United States government. The argument is this has to do with efficiency, but it doesn't. And I'm going to show you how and why that's the case. What Mr. Musk and Trump are doing is taking a meat axe to the federal payroll, to those people who work for Uncle Sam. But they're doing it for ideological reasons, for publicity reasons, for symbolic reasons, and above all, for political reasons. But it isn't efficient, and it's easy to show how and why that isn't. So let's do that briefly before we go into Cold War issues. The federal civilian labor force in the United States, as I speak to you, involves about 2.5 million people. That's right, 2.5 million. There's another 2.5 million that are more or less involved in the military labor force of the United States. So if you put those two together, it's about 5 million. Since the government doesn't seem to be about to attack the employments in the Defense Department, Homeland Security, and so on, although we're not sure yet, it's really the civilian labor force, the 2.5 million, roughly, civilian employees of the United States government that are in the crosshairs, that are getting all the attention, all the firings, and all the hoopla. Is this about efficiency? The answer is no, and it's easy to show, again, how and why that's the case. First of all, the number, 2.5 million, has been about the same for the last 50 to 60 years. Let me repeat that. The number of federal employees of the U.S. government has hovered around 2.5 million for 60 years. During that time, the population of the United States went from roughly 200 million to roughly 340 million. In other words, the same number of federal employees did the work that the federal government performs for an ever larger number of people. Same workers, more people served. You know what that's usually called? Efficiency, not inefficiency. It's fake to go after these 2.5 million on the grounds they haven't been working and doing a bang-up job of servicing an enormously larger population without a corresponding increase in federal employees. That's the fact. You won't hear it often from Mr. Musk or Mr. Trump. They're busy playing theater. But I can show it to you in another way. Let's take a look not at the federal employees for a moment, but at the employees of state governments, all 50 states, and local governments, towns, villages, cities. The employment by the states of civilian workers, about 5 million, more than double the number of civilian workers that work for the federal government. And the biggest of all, local governments, which employ 15 million civilian employees. So state and local are 15 plus 5, 20 million. Federal employees, 2.5 million. State and local are 10 times bigger than the federal in employment. If you wanted to be efficiency-driven, your first focus would be on the 20 million state and local, not the federal, because it's tiny relative to the state and local. It's not efficiency that's governing this. Otherwise, they go after the state and local folks. Wouldn't be any more justified, but that's what they would have done. You know why they didn't? Because they cannot. Trump and Musk are working at the federal level. They can't get at the 20 million, at least not directly. So they went after who they could. That's what this is about. Who can you pick out? Who can you demonize? Who can you scapegoat to pretend you're doing something? You're not, and you're certainly not doing anything efficient. Let's be clear. If you fire tens of thousands of people across the federal agencies of this country, which is what they're doing, here's the two messages to the people who are left, the ones who didn't get fired. Number one, your job is a lot less secure than you thought it was, because you could be next. Number two, you're going to be asked to do the work that used to be done by the people who are now fired. You know, in industry, this is called speed up. More is going to be asked of you, but no one is going to be offering you more pay for doing the work of those who are now fired. More work, speed work, less security, that's what you're giving to the people you don't fire, and they are going to fight back one way or another. Workers always do. There's no free lunch. You can't hurt the working people of the federal government without blowback. But they're not telling you about that. They're not worrying about it. And they certainly don't care about the diminished services these now insecure, overworked public employees are going to, of course, deliver to us. Friends, here's the story. It's got nothing to do with efficiency. This is the age-old mentality of the employer class, acted out by their servants, the Republican Party, and often acted out by their other servants, the Democratic Party. And you know what employers think? They're always paying too much to their workers. They always should get more efficient by getting rid of workers. That's how they think. And that's what we have, employer mentality, gone crazy. This is the babble of bosses when they get together over too many drinks. Oh, we could do better if we didn't have all these people leeching off of the mentality, the aggressive, antagonistic, class struggle mentality of the employer. Seeing the employee, as always, ripping them off and wanting to, in turn, beat them to it by ripping them off. We live in that kind of society. And what we're watching is the servants of the employer class act out their fantasy. They always discover, too little, too late, that if you treat your employees that way, your business will suffer. You actually need those employees. They need to feel welcomed. They need to feel secure. They need to feel appreciated. And what Trump and Musk are doing is the exact opposite, and they will have the same comeuppance that private employers keep having, although they never seem to learn the lesson. Okay, one last point. If you work for the private sector, or if you work for the state governments, the local governments, don't think you're going to escape because Trump and Musk are focusing their public relations efforts on federal workers. All those federal workers that are fired, where are they going to go? They're going to go to wherever there are still jobs. They're going to look for jobs in the state government, in the local government, in the private sector. And when they go looking for jobs there, they're going to discover that people are already working there. So they'll go to the employer one way or another, and they'll say, I know you have John or Mary working here in the state government, local government, in the private factory, in the office, in the store. But I'll work for less. I'll work longer hours. It's well known. That's what economics teaches. If you shift workers from one sector to another in a massive, sudden way, which is what Musk and Trump are doing, you drive down the wages and you worsen the working conditions in those industries to which the fired workers look for jobs. The program of Trump and Musk is an attack on the entire working class in the United States, and the working class needs to wake up, realize what's going on, and mobilize its considerable forces to resist and to fight back. Fortunately, that's what's going on. Mr. Trump.